My name is Sarah Zambor, and I'm a Board Certified Behavior Analyst at DiNovi Associates. This video is part 2 of the series Prioritizing Play, and will continue to focus on why is it important to teach playing games to learners diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, or ASD. This video covers items F3, G5, and H3 on the 5th edition BACB task list. Before we begin part 2 of this series, let's take a moment to briefly review what was discussed in part 1 of the series. In part 1, 3 of the 6 benefits of teaching learners playing games listed in chapter 1 of Steve Ward's book, titled What You Need to Know About Motivation and Teaching Games and In-Depth Analysis, were discussed, including enhancing the learner-teacher relationship, increasing the number of peer interactions, and increasing the learner's good learning repertoires. This video will cover 3 additional benefits discussed in Ward's book, including helping the learner develop language, helping the learner develop joint attention skills, and helping the learner to establish the effectiveness of social reinforcers. Teaching the learner through playing games is beneficial because developing language skills can help the learner connect with their verbal community more effectively and efficiently. One way practitioners can practice language skills during play is by creating teaching opportunities whereby the learner is taught how to man for preferred items and/or activities. This interaction can be done by holding a preferred item or toy in the learner's view, yet slightly out of reach, and providing brief access to the item or toy after the learner emits the correct command. In addition to manning for preferred items or activities during play, learners can also practice manning for information. For example, during games like Guess Who, learners will have to request information regarding specific details about their opponent's mystery card. During games like Go Fish, learners will have to ask their opponent if they have a specific card that matches a card that they have in their hand. Games can also be helpful in teaching learners the concept of accepting no in a more relaxed atmosphere. For example, in the game Mother May I, the learner must request permission to move forward towards the leader. If the leader responds to the request with, "No, you may not," the learner must stay in their current place. During this game, the learner will have the opportunity to practice repeatedly hearing the word no, which may make it less aversive when they are told no in more preferred situations. In addition to the skills just described, games can also provide learners the opportunity to develop nonverbal social language. For example, in games such as Hide the Prize or What Am I Looking At?, the learner will need to follow the leader's eye gaze to locate a specific reinforcer or prize. The leader can start by looking at an item that is directly in front of the learner and slowly and systematically increase the distance in which the learner has to look for the item to make the game more challenging. Social referencing can also be targeted in games such as Hide and Seek and Red Light, Green Light. New language skills can also be targeted in games such as Zingo or 20 Questions. During a game of Zingo or 20 Questions, the rules of the game can be adapted so the learner will have the opportunity to practice asking various questions in addition to responding to yes/no questions. Ward notes targeting language in the context of playing games is more beneficial for learners because the skills are often more likely to be generalized and maintained over time when compared to skills that are targeted in rote situations or during activities or situations in which the learner is disinterested. Teaching learners through playing games is also important as it presents learners with the opportunity to develop joint attention skills in their natural environment. Joint attention occurs when 2 individuals share interest in an object or event. Joint attention is an important repertoire because early examples of joint attention have been positively correlated to language acquisition. Joint attention typically solidifies between 6 and 18 months of age in neurotypical learners. However, that is unfortunately often not the case with learners diagnosed with ASD. Learners with ASD often fail to develop joint attention skills without a specific intervention. In his book, Ward notes that joint attention initiations typically occur when the learners value the attention of others, are capable of shifting between an object, an event, and a person, are capable of recruiting attention, can discriminate whether they have successfully directed someone's attention to an object or event of interest, and can make efforts to repair deficits in their partner's attending. If your learner has not yet developed any of the skills just described, It may seem confusing or overwhelming to think about how to start teaching by targeting joint attention skills. However, joint attention can be targeted during any free-flowing play activity. In the book Socially Savvy, an assessment and curriculum guide for young children, authored by Christine Almeida and James Ellis, 9 joint attention targets are listed that can be addressed through playing games. The targets listed range in difficulty from orienting or looking when an object is present to commenting on what the self or others are doing. There is also an assessment provided in the book that lists corresponding activities and intervention ideas corresponding to the 9 targets. For example, to teach joint attention 1, which is defined as orients or looks when an object is present, the practitioner may want to attempt the game Roll the Ball. In this game, the learner is instructed to sit in a circle with their peers, and each learner takes turns rolling a ball to each other in the circle. The key to the game is that the learner is expected to make eye contact with the peer that he or she is rolling the ball towards, and wait for eye contact to be returned before rolling the ball back to their peer. To target a more difficult joint attention skill, such as joint attention 4, which is defined as uses eye gaze to match social interaction, the practitioner may attempt the game Almeida and Ellis referred to as silly face. In this game, the learners are instructed to sit in a circle and take turns approaching a peer and attempting to make them laugh by making a silly face. In addition to the games just listed in the Socially Savvy curriculum, Board notes that the game Reverse Hot or Colder can also be helpful in teaching learners how to monitor their partner's behavior, and as well as to repair their partner's deficits. In Reverse Hot or Colder, the learner's role is to monitor whether the player is getting closer or further away from the hidden item. This differs from a typical game of hot or colder because typically the learner would be the one listening to the hot or colder cues. Reverse Hot or Colder also allows for opportunities for the learner to practice shaping the behavior of their partner. The last and perhaps most important reason for teaching learners through playing games is to condition social stimuli such as smiles, laughs, physical contact, and/or verbal interactions as reinforcers. In neurotypical learners, their social behaviors are often maintained by social reinforcers, and most of their language are learned with social reinforcement. For example, when a neurotypical individual smiles at a stranger and the stranger smiles back, the interaction is typically reinforcing for the individual, and they are more likely to smile at strangers in the future. For learners diagnosed with ASD, smiles, praise, or reciprocal greetings do not typically function as a reinforcer, and therefore establishing the effectiveness of social stimuli as reinforcers should be goals targeted for intervention. In his book, Board notes that motivation and interest in social stimuli is pivotal for learners with ASD because all the repertoire surrounding interest in social stimuli, such as greetings, spontaneous commenting, cooperation, language, joint attention, and imitation develop more easily and naturally when social stimuli functions as a reinforcer. Board also notes that it is often necessary to provide direct instruction to teach learners to engage in various social behaviors. However, he warns such social stimuli skills should never be taught without keeping the learner's motivation in mind. Designing interventions to establish social stimuli as reinforcers can be challenging. However, it is important that each intervention is individualized and based on what is socially significant to your learner. It is also important for practitioners to learn how to identify subtle aspects of their learner's behavior that show what is currently motivating for their learners, as well as understand that motivation can and likely will change from session to session or even several times throughout a session. This concludes the Prioritizing Play series. I hope this information was helpful in learning new ways to incorporate playing games into sessions to target and increase your learners' language, joint attention skills, and establish the effectiveness of social reinforcers. For more information on this topic and all 6 benefits reviewed during Part 1 and Part 2 of this series, check out Board's book, What You Need to Know About Motivation and Teaching Games, an in-depth analysis. If you would like to help disseminate the science, please like and share this video.